The truth about your eternal spiritual identity that no one tells you. There is something within you that has existed before time itself, something beyond your name, your body, your memories, or even your thoughts. It is the part of you that has never changed, no matter what you've gone through. But here's the shocking truth: most people will live their entire lives without ever realizing what they truly are. They will spend their days chasing external identities, attaching themselves to labels, roles, and beliefs that only serve to distract them from the one thing that has always been real, their eternal spiritual essence. From the moment you were born, the world has conditioned you to believe that you are your body, that you are your name, your story, your successes, your failures. But if you close your eyes and silence your thoughts for just a moment, you will realize something strange. There is a presence within you that is simply watching, observing, existing beyond the noise of the mind. That presence is the real you, and it has been here long before you even knew what a self was.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
I think about it. When you were a child, you had no concept of identity. You simply existed, fully immersed in the present moment. You were not self-conscious. You did not define yourself by your past or worry about the future. You simply were. But as you grew older, society began to shape you. It told you who you were supposed to be, what was acceptable, what was not. Slowly, you started building an identity based on external expectations, and in doing so, you became disconnected from your true self. But here's where it gets even deeper. This false identity, the one you have spent years constructing, is the very thing that makes you suffer. Every fear, every insecurity, every doubt you have ever had comes from the illusion that you are something temporary, something fragile, something that can be lost or broken. But what if I told you that the real you can never be lost? That the real you is not your body, not your mind, not even your experiences, but something eternal, something infinite. This is the greatest illusion that no one talks about: the belief that you are separate, that you are an individual entity drifting through time, when in reality, you are something far greater. You are not just existing within the universe, you are the universe experiencing itself through a temporary form. The body you inhabit right now is simply a vessel, a tool for experiencing this reality. But you are beyond this. And the moment you realize this at the deepest level, everything changes. You stop fearing death because you understand that what you truly are cannot die. You stop chasing external validation because you realize that nothing outside of you has ever defined you. You stop clinging to temporary things because you see them for what they are: passing experiences, fleeting moments in an infinite existence. And in that realization, you find freedom, the kind of freedom that no one can take away from you. But here's the challenge: most people are not ready to hear this. They are too attached to their temporary identity, too caught up in their fears, their desires, their illusions. They spend their lives running from one thing to another, always searching, never realizing that what they are looking for has been within them all along. They try to find happiness in achievements, in relationships, in material things, but no matter how much they attain, something always feels missing. That feeling of emptiness, of longing, is not a flaw, it is a signal that you are meant to wake up. So the question is, will you listen? Will you dare to look beyond the illusion and see yourself for what you truly are? Or will you continue to chase shadows, mistaking the temporary for the eternal? Because the truth is, once you see this, you can never go back. You can never again pretend that you are just a body, just a mind, just a collection of experiences. You will know, beyond any doubt, that you are something far greater. And this is where everything begins. Once you understand that you are not just a person, but a consciousness experiencing reality through form, you start to see the world differently. You stop taking life so personally. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. Instead, you start to realize that this entire existence is a game, a dream, a temporary experience designed for you to explore, learn, and expand. And the way you play this game changes once you know you are the creator of it. But before you can fully step into this truth, you must be willing to let go of everything you thought you were. You must be willing to question every belief, every attachment, every label you have ever identified with. Because the moment you strip all of that away, what remains is something pure, something powerful, something that has always been there, waiting for you to return to it. So now I ask you, who are you really? When you remove your name, your past, your thoughts, your emotions, what is left? Who is the one that is aware of all these things but is not defined by them? Because that is the real you. And once you recognize it, you will understand why no one ever told you this truth. Because if you truly knew, you would never again be controlled by fear, by society, by anything outside of yourself. You would be free. The illusion of separation, how the ego traps you in a false identity, and how to break free. From the moment you became aware of yourself, something else appeared alongside you, your ego. It is the voice inside your head that tells you who you are, what you should fear, what you should desire. It is the storyteller, the architect of the identity you have come to believe is real. But what if I told you that this identity, the version of you that you have spent your entire life constructing, is nothing more than a mask? A temporary illusion designed to keep you attached to this physical experience. The greatest trick the ego ever played was convincing you that you are separate. Separate from others, separate from the universe, separate from the very source that created you. It whispers to you constantly, reinforcing the idea that you are an individual navigating a harsh and unpredictable world. It thrives on division, on comparison, on the belief that you are incomplete and must seek external things to become whole. And as long as you believe this, you remain trapped, disconnected from your true self. But here's the paradox: the ego is not your enemy. It is simply a tool, a necessary mechanism that allows you to experience this reality. Without it, you would not be able to function in this world. The problem is not the ego itself, but your identification with it. Most people do not realize that they are not their thoughts, not their fears, not their desires. They become so entangled in the ego's narrative that they forget there is something beyond it, something vast, silent, and infinitely powerful. So how do you break free? How do you step outside of the illusion and see yourself for what you truly are? The first step is awareness. You must begin to observe your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, not as something that defines you, but as passing phenomena. Like clouds drifting across the sky, they come and go, but they are not you. You are the sky, untouched by the storms that pass through it. The second step is detachment. Once you recognize that the ego is simply a construct, you can begin to loosen its grip. This does not mean rejecting it or trying to destroy it. That is just another trap of the mind. Instead, it means learning to see it for what it is, a tool, not your master. The moment you stop identifying with the ego's fears, its insecurities, its endless need for validation, you reclaim your power. You step into the awareness that you are something far greater than the small self the ego has convinced you to be. But here's where most people get stuck. They experience moments of clarity, glimpses of their true nature, but then the ego pulls them back. It tells them that this realization is just a fleeting thought, that they must return to their old ways, their old fears, their old attachments. And so they oscillate between awakening and illusion, never fully breaking free. The key to transcending this cycle is practice. You must train yourself to remain in awareness, to continually return to the space beyond the mind. Meditation, stillness, presence, these are not just spiritual concepts, they are the doorway to liberation. Every time you step into the present moment without judgment, without attachment, you weaken the ego's hold. And eventually, something profound happens. The illusion of separation dissolves. You begin to see yourself in everything. The trees, the sky, the people around you. There is no longer a sense of otherness. Everything is connected. Everything is one. And you are not just a small, temporary being. You are existence itself, experiencing itself through a human form. And once you truly know this, not just intellectually, but in every fiber of your being, your entire experience of life changes. Fear loses its power over you. Because what is there to fear when you are infinite? When death is not the end, but merely the shedding of a temporary form. When loss is not real because nothing has ever truly been separate from you. Suffering begins to fade, not because challenges stop happening, but because you no longer resist them. You see every experience, every hardship, every joy as part of the unfolding of consciousness. There is no need to cling, no need to control, just a deep, unwavering trust in the perfection of existence. And most importantly, you become free. Free from the illusions that have kept you small. Free from the need to prove anything to anyone. Free to simply be, knowing that you are already whole, already complete, already everything you have ever been searching for. But now, a deeper question arises. If you are not the ego, if you are not separate from the universe, then what are you truly capable of? What happens when you fully embody your true nature and step into your limitless potential? The awakening of infinite potential, how to live as a fully realized being in a world that is still asleep. Once you begin to see through the illusion of separation, another realization emerges. If you are not merely a body, not merely a mind, but a limitless awareness experiencing reality through form, then what are your true capabilities? What happens when you stop identifying with limitations and start embodying the infinite potential that has always been within you? This is where the real transformation begins. Most people live their lives within a narrow framework of possibility. They are conditioned to believe that they must follow a predetermined path, that they are bound by their past, their genetics, their circumstances. They are told that life is a struggle, that success requires suffering, that happiness is something to be pursued rather than something that already exists within them. But all of this is an illusion, a construct designed to keep people asleep, to keep them locked in a cycle of seeking instead of realizing. The truth is, the moment you recognize your eternal nature, the moment you stop identifying with the limitations of the ego, you gain access to a level of power that most people will never tap into. You begin to see that reality is not something happening to you, it is something being generated by you. Your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, all of these are shaping the world around you in ways far more profound than you have been led to believe. Look at the most extraordinary figures in history, the mystics, the visionaries, the ones who seem to bend reality itself. Were they different from you? Were they born with some supernatural ability that you do not possess? No. The only difference is that they knew who they were. They understood that the mind does not create reality. Consciousness does. And the moment you align yourself fully with that consciousness, the world begins to respond in ways that defy logic. You start to experience synchronicities, events that seem too perfectly aligned to be coincidence. You begin to notice that your desires manifest more easily, that the right people, the right opportunities, the right moments appear as if guided by an unseen force. But this is not magic. This is simply the natural flow of reality when you stop resisting it, when you stop operating from fear and start moving from a place of absolute certainty. But here's the challenge: you are still living in a world where most people are asleep. A world where fear, division, and limitation are the dominant narratives. And when you begin to awaken, when you begin to step into your true power, you will face resistance. Not because the world is against you, but because people fear what they do not understand. They will try to pull you back into their reality, not out of malice, but because your transformation threatens the stability of their own illusions. This is where many people hesitate. They begin to awaken, they start to see the truth, but then they shrink back, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of standing alone. But here is the key: you must not dim your light to make others comfortable. You must not return to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Once you have seen the truth, your responsibility is to embody it fully, to live as an example of what is possible. And this is not about preaching, not about convincing others with words. True awakening does not need to be announced, it is felt. When you walk through the world as a fully realized being, people will notice. They will sense something different about you, not arrogance, not superiority, but an unshakable presence, a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, a power that does not seek control but flows effortlessly. And this is how you change the world, not by fighting the old, but by embodying the new, by living in such alignment with your true nature that your very existence becomes a catalyst for others to awaken, by showing, through your own life, that there is another way to be, another way to exist, one that is not rooted in fear, but in absolute freedom. But now, the final question arises. If you are infinite, if you are the creator of your reality, then what is the purpose of all of this? Why are you here? What is the ultimate reason for your existence beyond awakening, beyond realizing your power? The ultimate purpose of your existence, why you chose to experience life in this form and what comes next. Now that you understand the truth of your eternal nature, that you are not just a body, not just a mind, but something far greater, consciousness itself experiencing reality through form, the final question remains: why? Why are you here? Why did you, as an infinite being, choose to inhabit this temporary body, to live through this human experience, with all its struggles, all its emotions, all its illusions? What is the ultimate purpose of your existence? Most people assume that life is something that happens to them. They believe they were born into this world by chance, thrown into a chaotic reality with no real direction, forced to struggle through life until eventually they die. But that is not the truth. The truth is, you were not thrown into this life, you chose it, and you did not choose it randomly. You chose it with precise intention, with a purpose so profound that your human mind cannot fully grasp it. You see, as an eternal being, you exist beyond time, beyond space, beyond form. In your purest state, you are limitless, formless, all-knowing. But here's the paradox: without limitation, without contrast, without experience, there is no growth. Imagine existing in a state of infinite bliss, infinite knowledge, infinite power. It may sound incredible, but over eternity, it becomes a kind of stillness, a kind of nothingness. Because without challenge, without contrast, there is no expansion. And this is why you are here. You entered this physical reality to experience, to feel, to grow, to evolve. You chose to forget your infinite nature so that you could rediscover it. You chose to face challenges not because you had to, but because through adversity, your consciousness expands. Every hardship, every moment of suffering, every joy, every triumph, all of it is a part of your evolution. Not just personal evolution, but the expansion of the entire universe, because you are the universe, and every experience you have adds to the collective intelligence of existence itself. But here is where most people get lost. They forget their purpose. They get caught in the illusion and start believing that life is only about survival, about accumulating success, about chasing temporary pleasures. They become consumed by the ego's desires, trapped in cycles of fear, attachment, and suffering. And in doing so, they resist the very experiences that they came here to have. They fight their struggles instead of learning from them. They run from pain instead of understanding it. They seek happiness outside of themselves instead of realizing that it was never something to be found, but something to remember. So what is the real purpose of your existence? It is not a single mission, not a fixed goal, not a specific achievement. Your purpose is to awaken to remember who you truly are while still existing within the illusion. It is to bring light into darkness, to transcend fear, to live from a place of creation rather than reaction. It is to embody love in a world that has forgotten it, to experience the full spectrum of existence, and through that, to expand your consciousness to levels beyond imagination. And once you awaken, once you remember, the way you move through life changes. You no longer see obstacles as problems, but as opportunities for growth. You no longer fear loss because you understand that nothing real can ever be lost. You no longer seek external validation because you realize that you are already whole. And most importantly, you stop living passively. You step into your power as a creator. Because here is the final truth: the reality you experience is not fixed. It is not something outside of you. It is a direct reflection of your internal state. The more you awaken, the more reality bends to reflect that awakening. The more you embody your true nature, the more effortlessly life begins to flow. Synchronicities increase, manifestations become instant. The right people, the right opportunities, the right moments align as if by magic. But it is not magic, it is simply the natural order of existence when you are in alignment with your true self. This is what the greatest spiritual masters, the visionaries, the enlightened beings throughout history have all understood. They did not possess some secret knowledge that you do not have. They simply remembered what most people have forgotten. They lived not as victims of reality, but as conscious creators of it. And this is what you are here to do, not to escape the human experience, but to master it. Not to wait for some afterlife, but to realize that this moment, this life is the playground of the divine. And now, the final question arises: what happens next? What happens after this life, after this form dissolves, after the illusion of separation fully fades? The answer is simple: you return to what you have always been. You merge back into the infinite, carrying with you every experience, every lesson, every moment of growth. You become the observer once again, watching the grand play of existence unfold. And then, when the time is right, you do it all over again. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. Because the desire to expand, to experience, to create is woven into the very fabric of your being. So the real question is not what happens after this life. The real question is, what will you do with this life? Now that you know who you are, now that you remember why you are here, how will you choose to live? Will you fall back into the illusion, or will you step fully into your power? Will you continue to seek, or will you finally allow yourself to be? Because the moment you stop searching for meaning and start living with awareness, with intention, with presence, that is when you truly awaken. That is when life stops being something you endure and becomes something you create. And that is the ultimate purpose of your existence: to wake up, to remember, to create, to love, to expand, to experience the infinite through the temporary, to bring light where there is darkness, to live not as a seeker, but as a being who already holds all the answers within. Because you do, you always have, and now you are ready.